have to be sacrificed. Lou was in a good mood, and if the interview went well, he might be willing to stay for dinner. We continued to enjoy the food, and finally I stood up and said we should probably go do our talk. He looked as if he had completely forgotten about it, but he stood up and followed me downstairs and into the front room. When we emerged, I could feel the audience's tense energy. Lou, of course, seemed impervious. That kind of tension was the emotional sea he swam in, the air he breathed. The room was small, and it was packed. A number of people had traveled great distances to be there. Everyone had known that Lou was in the house, but his not emerging for the reception lent the gathering an edge. This was Lou Reed, after all. Maybe he would walk out. When we sat down in the 2 chairs set up in the front of the room, we adjusted our mics, and I thanked Reed for coming. "Anything for you," he said. Our conversation rambled on for an hour. We talked about writing, Andy Warhol, Delmore Schwartz, the Velvet Underground, and Laurie Anderson. We took questions from the audience, and then we were done. Now Lou was in a great mood. He remained in his seat as people came by to say hello and brought memorabilia for him to sign. He was gracious to everyone and looked over the rarities presented to him, mentioning that even he didn't have copies of some of them. Then, after about 15 minutes, he joined us for dinner. Everyone got their Lou Reed story, and I got my compliment. I'd gotten to know Lou from writing about him in Rolling Stone and elsewhere, and over the course of more than 15 years, we'd regularly run into each other in New York, at clubs and concerts, at restaurants and parties. I always felt that one of the reasons Lou and I got along well was that we met socially before we ever met as artist and critic. In June of 1995, I got stuck at the airport in Cleveland, where I had gone to cover the concert celebrating the opening of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Backed by Soul Asylum, Lou had turned in a roaring version of Sweet Jane as part of that show. My flight back to New York was delayed for hours, and I was settling in for the wait when I ran into a record company friend who introduced me to Lou and Laurie. There's nothing like an interminable flight delay to grease the gears of socialization. "You reviewed New York for Rolling Stone, right?" Reed asked, referring to his classic 1989 album. "Right. How many stars did you give it?" "4. "Should have been 5, he said, but he was smiling. The ice had been broken. So we sat and chatted in the airport lounge. The subject of the Hall of Fame's list of the 500 songs that shaped rock and roll came up, and Lou asked if Walk on the Wild Side was on it. It was, and he seemed pleased to be represented. Then, in a sweet gesture, he asked if Laurie's "Oh, Superman" had been included. It had not, but at that moment, I got a sense of how important she was to him. He didn't want to make the moment all about him. Though I subsequently interviewed Lou a half-dozen times or so, I remember those more casual moments with the most affection. I recall talking with him at length about Brian Wilson, whom he greatly admired, at a party for Amnesty International. Another time, I ran into him outside Trattoria dell'Arte on 7th Avenue, when he and Laurie were heading to Carnegie Hall to see the Cuban musicians who had been part of the Buena Vista Social Club phenomenon. It was a warm summer night, and Lou was wearing a light-colored short-sleeved shirt. He was in his late 50s at the time, and his hair was graying. In the fading sunlight, I could see the lines of aging on his face and neck. Rather than the daunting, leather-clad figure of Lou Reed, he looked like the man he had, in a sense, become, an aging Jewish New Yorker out for a night of entertainment with his arty, attractive girlfriend. He also seemed to be in a terrific mood. He was excited to see the show and asked if I was going. When I explained that I didn't have tickets, he half-jokingly asked, "Do you think Laurie and I could get you in as some kind of—" He hesitated in order to come up with the exact right phrase. "Celebrity perk?" We all laughed, but I was touched nonetheless. Encountering him around the city that way always made me proud to be a New York native. An artist of incalculable significance, Lou was also, as one of his song titles put it, the ultimate NYC man, as inextricable a part of the city as, say, the Twin Towers. Now, he and they are gone, and the city still stands, however much diminished.